Hi everyone, it's Wendy from Wendy Patterson Design, and today I'm bringing you a flip through of my 100-day project. I ended up with two journals. The journals that I've actually used are from Strathmore, and they are the watercolour paper. They have been absolutely fantastic to work in. The quality of the paper has been so good that I've been able to use both sides. So really love these books. Yes, they're a little bit more expensive than your average art journal, but because I do a lot of watercolor and wet projects, I really enjoy using the Strathmore, and I've just found that if I want to produce something that is of quality, I need to use quality materials. Now, as some of you are aware, I'm actually doing a giveaway in lines with my 100-day project, and for those people that have subscribed to my social media accounts. So it'll be a random draw. Everyone's name is going into my little trustee bin, but there's a fair few in there at the moment. Now, all of my 100 days are in an art journal, so I can't take those pictures out, but what I'll be doing for those people that win is a reproduction onto Arches watercolor paper. So this is the size that I'll actually be using, which is the 5.83 inches by the 8.2 inches. Arches is a very good quality paper, and nice and thick, so that's the 300 gram one. So that's what size you'll be getting, and I hope people that win really enjoy. You will be able to let me know which day that you prefer, and I'll reproduce those for you. So to start with, this was a journal that I had started in the past, around about 2 years ago. So the difference I have now found from the very start of this book to what I've now finished off with has just been a huge improvement. My first two paintings were in another journal. This morning I just haven't been able to find that one, and that was the lighthouse one it started with, but I really have enjoyed adding everything along the way. So some of my paintings were just learning how the different mediums actually work together. Others, as you can see here, this one's been inspired by Creation CC. I love her work. She's been a really amazing influence in some of my style, and CC has got me hooked on gold watercolors. So they're actually watercolors, and there's around about 5 different shades of the gold. Other pictures have been inspired by Pinterest, and this one was just a little bit of ink doodling. So even though it wasn't a watercolor, that was what I worked on the day, because I was just, I guess, starting out, I was restrained by my own self-doubts, but I have ended up putting watercolor splatters just on the background. This is another one that was inspired by CC Creations. In fact, probably I think both pages were there, and you can see there that shimmer, that gold has just come through. I really enjoy the way that it turned out. I haven't done a huge amount of abstract in watercolors before, and this has been a really nice process just to loosen up, to learn the flow of the watercolors. This one was a little bit different, just to try breaking down my page into smaller paintings. Some I was really happy with, others not so much. Really loved the way that this turned out. I think I'd like this one in a bigger canvas, and particularly my landscapes. This was a fun little project of just putting a little bit of the thin washi tape down and just splattering watercolour over the top. Some of these, not all of my paintings, I'll end up putting little quotes on them, maybe just as a little bit of a lift me up on the page. This one I actually used pearlescent watercolors, which just beautiful. Once again, this one was inspired by CC. I've just taken it with a few more doodles on there. Because I actually, sometimes you'll see me follow on from other paintings with links, so I liked the way and the style with this leaf was going, so I end up just taping the edges of this one, putting down a mix mash of watercolor, bit of splatter, and then ended up extending this leaf here onto this page. This page was actually inspired by Pinterest, and I couldn't remember where the original one came from. I did this for a previous project in a very small size and just wanted to expand it a bit further. Another one was inspired by Pinterest. I just love the fiery background. We recently had major fires within Australia that devastated a large population of basically the majority of the east coast of Australia, losing a lot of bushlands, and this reminded me of just the intensity of those fires that were there. But just adding once again a little bit of gold, it's a little bit of life coming back into nature. The starry skies, just wanted to play with the watercolors just to see if I can get that starry night, and actually tried it initially with a little bit of white watercolor on top, but the stars didn't pop, so I have a white gold that I actually used instead, and you can see there that especially when it reflects off the light, it just bounces. I enjoy panels. This will drive one of my friends crazy, Tracy, that I have 3 panels, which she does like things of 3, but they're all different sizes. So Tracy, I still love you. I'm not doing it to annoy you. I like unevenness at times. And just 2 little birds sitting in the tree. Just another little quote. I sometimes get, I guess my paintings will reflect my day and how I'm feeling. So these probably open up a little bit into who I am. Another little watercolor abstract painting, so using ink and watercolors. Just very simple, but I ended up liking the way that it turned out. This one was also inspired by Pinterest. Just some little watercolor with a bit of doodling. And this one was inspired by James, but just using one color, which was I think ivory black, and just creating that image. Delusion, I love the way that this one's turned out. Just using a bit of watercolor in here, I'm not quite sure if you can see just a little reflection, and just using the pearlescent watercolors just on the black. I guess from this point onwards I really tried to push out and challenge myself. I found an image of just 2 koi fish swimming in the water, and just wanted to create a bit of movement and swirling. I used a little bit of masking fluids to put down initially for the fish, and then painted the water, and then came over with the colour for the koi fish. Just a little bit of more abstract. These pictures I found on Pinterest, and from there I've just created these 2 paintings. I pushed myself. I hadn't really done a lot of buildings in the past. I really like the way that one turned out. I think I'd like to get in and practice more with the buildings and just see where I go from there. Another one inspired by Pinterest. I just like the way that just using inks and watercolors just to create something nice and light. Happiness depends on ourselves, it truly does. Just a bubble page. Here I was just experimenting to actually put down a very light colour and just building up darkness with the bubbles, and did like the way that that actually has come out. I've got a multitude of cups and bottles on my desk. I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do for the day, and basically just drew something that was in front of me. So that was just using ink and just the watercolour. So there's only basically two colours there, which was a blue and also just a Payne's grey, I think that was. I love these two pages. This was my first real attempt at doing an animal with watercolours. I was so pleased with the way that the eyes focused, and that was what I really wanted to highlight in this painting, were this little puppy's eyes. I'm trying to find my style here, I guess, and I'm really happy with probably more of a loose style in the way that that's actually turned out. Yes, my horse is a little bit out of proportion. I need to work on their bodies, but once again, just using just a free flow of watercolors to create that page. I was really happy with the way that it turned out. I know I need a little bit more work and practice on this, but I think I'm slowly getting there. This painting I really had a lot of fun with. It was such a simple, quick painting to do, but it ended up being quite effective. I've made a few reproductions of this one too for friends, and it was just, I think I love puppies. Yeah, I do like puppies. I think you'll see that throughout the process, that I have a lot of flowers that are starting to pop in. This was another one that was inspired by Pinterest. I liked their pattern was very different. I guess a bit more blocky. I just wanted to be free with the watercolors, and I think that one turned out quite well. The last one for this book was the blue crane. I have done this in a acrylic on a smaller size, but he wasn't with his wings out, and I just felt that with the watercolor I was able to get a little bit more movement and freedom of this bird taking off with just the splattering of the watercolor. So I was actually reasonably happy with the way that this turned out. Once again, I do need practice on a little bit of dimension, but once that'll just take time and practice. So this is the second book. I thought instead of just jumping straight into another picture for my day 39, it was just a little bit of a quote there. Challenges are what makes life interesting, and overcoming them is what makes life meaningful. I like that saying, just that gold watercolour again coming through. And it's a little bit of abstract. This was a fun process. It did take a little while. I sped it up in the video, but I find it very therapeutic doing these lines. It's methodic. I am doing something, listening to music, and just doing this. It allows me just to escape just from the world a little bit. This one is based on an image of Brisbane skyline. So I live in Brisbane, which is in Queensland, Australia, and just love it at night time. So it's just reflecting in the Brisbane River. So a little bit more abstract, and I became obsessed for a little while with these circles. So more poppies, and this was just a very loose, quick throw the colours down, and I was actually quite happy with the way that turned out. This was just a page. I'd seen a couple of images of abstract Australian landscapes, and I've kind of like taken my own interpretation on this. We have got some stunning mountain ranges, deserts, hard, harsh lands, and I was just trying to bring in that influence there. I love painting leaves and ferns. I just like the way that just the darkness of these leaves just on the background turned out quite nicely. I think one of my favourite buildings is the lighthouse. I'll be doing a lot more of these. I've made a couple of reproductions of lighthouses already, so it'll be similar to this as well as day one of my paintings. Here I was just trying to build up on just landscaping distances to try and get that foreground, the midground, and then in the distance. I really started having some fun here. Landscapes, love landscapes. I actually liked the way that these turned out, probably more from the actual shape and the size. This was only actually done in one colour, well, two colours if you add the white I've just added, but I really enjoyed the process of actually creating those landscapes. To try something different, I ended up breaking down the days into very small paintings. I think I had a really busy week at work, and I was trying to reduce the amount of time that I was actually spending, so I was just doing a couple of quick little sections on each page, so each one of these is actually a day. So yes, my weeks can be rather long. These ones, just wanted to play around almost just with the one colour. I did add just a little bit of a rose sort of colour in here, but they kind of like flowed on from each other, those three paintings. You can see I started to get hooked on this sort of elongated style. This was just in a sepia colour, I think. Once again, I think it was just trying just one colour to create a bit of tone. Just playing with that landscape again. This was one that I just wanted to experiment. I had seen people put down a stream of water and just allowed that paint to flow into it while creating some trees. My mum loves this quote, family where life begins and love never ends. Just a little bit more abstract, and this one was inspired by Lauren Horn art. I just love the way that she actually creates is just wonderful. I just love the movements there. I just used a couple of different colours of the micro pens just to create something a little bit different. Once back to that elongated style, a little bit of abstract. Using a bit of brusho, so getting rather dramatic with some of the colours. Poppies, yet once again. Using brusho to create an Australian landscape. These are the shimmer dusts from Colour Blast, and just love just the glistening effect. Can't quite see it on, just a little bit there. Just like the way that turned out, and using it here, very bold, bright colours. Just trying the shimmer dust and creating almost like a lavender poppy field of colour. I pulled out all of the colours, the shimmer dust that I did have, so just creating from the different colours, different leaves, different styles there, and just a sample pages basically. Now this one, if you're watching the video, I actually like the first part of it. It was actually looking quite good. Then I got overexcited with the shimmer dust and it became very heavy. So just use gold pen to start adding doodling on top of that. Not my greatest achievement, but I wasn't too disheartened by the way that it did turn out. Love, I've got, as I said, I've got several different types of gold. So there's what's 6 different colors there. So everything from yellow, I think a light gold, a blue gold, champagne, a red gold, and a white gold. I like the way it turned out. This was an interesting painting. I wasn't quite sure where this was going. I just decided that I have no idea today. I'll just throw colours down, and then I could see where it was actually taking me. Then just using a little bit of ink and Posca pens just to add a little bit of dimension to it. And I actually liked the way that that turned out. I had a new paint palette that I got out of the Two Sisters Art sampler for July. Yes, July. And I just wanted to find out the colours that were there, how they turned out. So I actually put some cubes down, allowed some of them to run into each other, and just a little bit of doodling over the top of them. This was using the same watercolour palette from Two Sisters Art. Just create. I grew up in an area where there was a bunya mountains. It's a glorious place where they had bunya pines and just glorious scenery. And I was trying to capture some of my childhood memories in this painting of just looking out and just seeing mist and the fog, the clouds up through the mountains. This is one that was in earlier previously that I liked it so much. I just wanted to create maybe a different style and flow, so I changed the pattern of the flowers a little bit, and just with a little bit of that water background. I guess it flowed over to here, just using the doodling in the leaves as well as just creating that background with the watercolour. I woke up one morning and one of my friends had posted on YouTube this amazing photo that she'd taken of a kingfisher down in southeast Queensland. Azura, I think the kingfisher is called. I was just blown away by the colours and had to try. So I was pretty happy with the way that it turned out. I hadn't really dived into painting huge detail. I wanted still that very loose style, but just picking up here and there maybe some subtle details. I think I'd like to get more images of birds and probably practice just creating them in flight, sitting in trees. But I do like the way that it turned out. This was just a very loose style. Just reminds me of some areas that we've been camping as families, and even though I think most people think of Australia as gum trees, there's a lot of pine forests and natural occurring pine forests, especially out in southwest Queensland. Very many happy memories camping. Now I like my ferns. I just wanted to try something different. I had that elongated style again, just a bit of masking tape down to separate, and just did a light wash and then build up. I do like the way that that turned out. Just a little bit of an elongated wash in the background and just building up with ferns there. I had to finish with gold. I think it'd been a few days since I'd used gold. At this stage I realised that I was kind of like running out of pages. I either had to start a new journal to finish off the 100-day project, or I had to condense it. So I actually started doing just some landscapes, 2 on a page. And I think instead of going the elongated way, these were basically the horizon style, landscape style. I just like the progression. Just a little bit of mist, not quite filling up the entire page, using a lot of white space. And then this one, I'm really happy with the way that that sky turned out, especially that it's like a setting sun in behind that you can just see that twilight. This was an absolute fun page. I had done in the April of this year, the Art Sherpa did a acrylic challenge. I started on that, but this project took over, so I didn't have a chance to actually finish it. I may want to go back and do that, but there was a bug in there, and I really enjoyed it. So from that idea I created my own little ladybug just climbing up the leaf. And this was just a bit of a fun messy page. I started with just wanting to use up the last little bits of watercolour I had out of the Two Sisters art sampler that we got in July. There wasn't a lot of definition, so I've just added a little bit of ink and white Posca pen. I'm pretty happy with the way that turned out. My lovely flutterby. I just like the movement on the colour of that. This is probably one of my favourites. It's ended up being like the skylines that I see sometimes at night, just looking down my street. I had to try an avocado. I'd seen this on Pinterest so many times, different people painting an avocado. I do need a little bit of practice trying to get a little bit of depth and a little bit more shading, I think. Had to turn back to a little bit of abstract, didn't I? This one's I'm trying to get bulbs. They weren't quite the shape, I guess, that I wanted, but I'm pretty happy with the way that that turned out. They're just standing just in the water, a little bit of an edge of a billabong. This one I loved. I really enjoyed this one. So this was just using the Brusho, and the same with the birds previously, and just building up the layers, and it's got that very misty sort of background. Happy with the way that that turned out. These I think have ended up being some of my favourite. I would love to turn these into fabric, and we'll be working on that over the next month to see if I can actually get some of these designs put into a fabric. But just so love just the free loose style. I think I'm finally finding out what really suits me. And finally, day 100. This was a real challenge. I thought I had to take a real big effort on my last day, and this was just a girl running along a beach. There's some details that I think I still need to improve upon, but I just wanted this a freestyle. It didn't put a huge amount of detail into it, but just wanted it free flowing, just with a bit of reflection in the water there too. Overall, I think I'm pretty happy with the way that things turned out. And just in the process now of what is next. So what next for me is starting a new project, but I think I'll jump over to mixed media, so I can try a variety of different things there. So thank you so much for everyone that has followed me on this little journey. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. Your feedback and ongoing support has meant so much. I've really enjoyed making some new and wondrous friends. Thank you. I look forward to hearing from you in the future.